Here's the story here. I have a really interesting job. I go in and I talk to about 50 organizations and actually see the people in about 50 organizations a year. Look at their people. The interesting thing that I find is about 2/3 of the people in an organization are actually put in the wrong seat and aren't the right type of people to do the work. Which is really interesting, because if you're interested to listen to Mark Waltrip yesterday, he mentioned 61% of employees weren't fully engaged. Why? Because we put them in the wrong spot. So what I want to talk to you a little bit about today is, first, how does this happen? So that's the first question. How in business, how the heck do we put almost 2/3 of the people in the wrong spot of the company? Oh. That's not good. Real? Okay, so this is how most companies' hiring processes kind of look like. This is how most companies out there, probably 90% of them, actually go about hiring people. So they look at a resume, which, as we all know, is usually slightly exaggerated, right? Maybe a little bit here or there, right? Their work history, but what you don't know is, were they actually good at doing what they do, or did they just do it, right? Appearance. We all know that good-looking people must be better at their job than bad-looking people, right? That's what your hiring managers think, right? References. I hate to tell you, but if you can't find two people on the face of the earth to say something nice about you, there is a major problem, right? And in the end, personality. If they're a lot like me as the hiring manager, they must be good. So let's hire them, right? That's kind of how it looks like. So what path does most companies end up following because of this? Well, this kind of happens. They seem similar to me. Check. I like them, right? Because they're similar to me. Check. They're going to fit in because they're similar to me, right? And in the end, I'm going to go with my gut instinct because I don't have any really objective data to pick people from. And guess what? You're hired. And then this is what happens afterwards. 30 to 90 days later, reality strikes. You find out who you hired. 25% of the time, you end up firing them within 30 to 90 days, right? You realize they were just that far off of being the right person, and you fire them. Here's the bigger problem. 50% of the time, they don't completely stink. They're not what you wanted. But you know what? They're good enough. In today's corporate world, I don't have to go through 90 days of paperwork to terminate them, right? And so as a hiring manager, I live with them. I live with this person who is delivering typically subpar performance because, quite frankly, they're good enough, and it's a whole heck of a lot of work to have to hire somebody new. Now, the good news is you get it right about 25% of the time out there, right? 25% of the time, you get lucky. The gut instinct process worked, and you've got a good quality employee. The challenge is 2/3 of the time, you're keeping people who are going to be dissatisfied and not high producers in your organization. So I want to kind of give you kind of another way to look at this, or an analogy. So if you look at an NFL wide receiver, right? So think of an organization like the NFL. An NFL recruit, right? They literally have football films and football films to evaluate their people, right? They've got all this data, all this facts. You have a resume and an hour-long interview, okay? Interesting enough, what happens at the NFL Combine, right? At the NFL Combine, people run, they do a whole bunch of drills, and they find out data about these people that are highly predictive. Interesting enough, a wide receiver at the NFL Combine, the combination of these three particular drills will highly predict if they're going to be a starter or a non-starter in the NFL. This is why their draft pick goes up or down, right? Because they're actually looking at data. Broad jump, vertical leap. And the first 20 meters, interesting enough, of the 40-yard dash. Why is that? because it measures explosiveness. Now, interesting enough, when you think of business, obviously we're not measuring somebody's physical data. What you can measure is how they think, and you can also measure how they're going to work, how they think and how they work. So when you think of timeshare, I'm going to give you an analogy to kind of put this together. So what a wide receiver is to the NFL is very similar to what a closer is in the timeshare industry, right? It's offense. It's top-line growth, right? So the interesting formula, if you want to have closers that will close more than the average individual, you can measure these three things. And if they've got these three things, you're much likely to sell more time sales and sell them at a higher average ticket. The three magic things are self-drive, persuasiveness and enthusiasm, and sense of urgency. If they've got this, they're selling you more sales. That's how it works. So this is nice. This is nice and predictable, right, for a timeshare closer. Of course, your business isn't based on just time sale closers, right? Your business is based on a whole lot of other people besides that, and you need different type of people, right, in different spots of the organization. Here's your offense. Protect your top line, right? Let's find somebody who protects my bottom line. So let's talk about chief operating officer, right? As you can imagine, they typically aren't quite the same attributes that you're looking for as a sales rep, right? As a closer. Interesting enough, COO, prioritization, proactiveness, and decisiveness, right? Somebody who can problem solve, and an analytical thinker, right? Solve your business problems. Be direct with your people. Tell them what they need to hear, not what they only want to hear. A multitasker, natural sense of urgency, hard driving, right? The faster the CEO drives the car, the faster the team underneath him drives the car, for lack of a better word. Follow through and decisiveness. Quite frankly, I'm not worried about follow through and decisiveness with my closers, but I sure want that from my COO. So in the end, I'm just really trying to help you guys understand there's better ways to go about hiring people. The data is highly predictive. And if you get the right people in the right seats of your organization, just think about it. If you increase your productivity to 20 to 25% per individual in your organization, what happens to your bottom line? Typically something like this. Companies who are measuring their people, they're going to grow faster, both the top line and the bottom line. Offense, drive the top line up. Defense, drive the bottom line up. And that's how it works. Measure your people. Thank you.